Okay, welcome guys. I think we are live. Welcome to Dad's Gone Live. I've got Nico with me. How have you been, Nico? Pretty good, man. I just got. Yeah, good to see you too. You're in Florida, right? So I'm all the way in California, and I've been kind of thinking about the Nancy Guthrie case a lot lately, and I just wanted to touch base with you and see what you got going on. Do you plan on going back? Oh, hold on once. Well, they're saying they can't hear us right now. Can't hear them, can't hear. Dang it. Hold on, let me try to fix this. So, guys, this is my first time using this program right here, so I think I have your audio disabled for the viewers. I apologize about that. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. Collab cam. Okay, got that set up. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. They can hear that. They cannot hear you at all. I just totally messed up. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna get this fixed, guys. Just real quick. Just bear with me. Monitor only. Okay. You there, Nico?
Test, test, test.
There. Can you guys hear Nico now? Let's see. I think I have it fixed. I turned it to monitor only, not output. So they're saying they don't mind waiting for you. It's Nico's really well known. Let's see. Can you guys hear Nico now? I think so.
All right, cool.
Okay, cool. You're good. We're good. I had to turn the audio on. So, anyways, they didn't hear your answer. I was just basically saying how you're in Florida. I'm in California. It's been about a month since you and I were in Tucson. And I was curious, are you interested in going back? And what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in going back. I'm hoping to go out there again in the next couple of weeks. Like I just said, seeing that, I forget his name, AJ, I think it was, that found a
AJW?
bone yesterday.
Okay.
You know, it's guys like that are out there still looking and you know, working their butts off. And you know, I don't think that's going to be one of Nancy's bones, but it could help solve another case and bring closure to another family. So that's what
Okay.
it's all about, right? Helping families out.
Absolutely. Trying to help bring closure and bring peace. And I think did you have a chance to look at the bone yesterday? I have it pulled up on the screen right now.
Yeah,
Have you seen that?
I did.
What do you think about that? Does that look human?
It's very close. I will say it looks very old to me.
Okay.
So it's you know, when it's whitewashed like that, it's really hard to determine without actually having access to it and being able to measure it and look at its thickness and the finer details, you know, to see whether, you know, it could be a leg bone, could be an arm, you know, something of that nature, or it could be an animal. But it's definitely close. I do see like the one end it almost looks like it's partially buried.
Yeah.
So I am hoping that whoever went out there yesterday maybe did a little bit of excavation to see in and around that area if they could find additional bones.
Okay. So people are saying that they're claiming it was like 50 years old. They did say it was human, about 50 years old. They had detectives and like investigators. They taped off the crime. They treated it like a crime scene, taped off the area. I think they brought out a tent and they treated it like it was human remains, from my
Yeah.
understanding.
So normally, if it is human remains, they will bring out the tent
Okay.
and they will excavate a little bit of that area, and basically as respectful as possible, dig the bones up to
Okay.
try and get as many as possible. Obviously, the more bones we find, the better chance of identifying the person.
Now, if that is, if those remains are around 50 years old, like rumor has it, which I think they are. I think that's more than just a rumor. I think it's true. But let's say they are 50 years old. With a 50-year-old case like that, is it likely that DNA is possibly going to link them to who this person is?
Well, it depends. I couldn't tell exactly like how old it was, and I don't know if that was the medical examiner that mentioned it being close to 50 years old, or if it was a detective or what have you. But the important thing is now they have an area where they found that bone, or maybe more bones, right?
Yeah.
The best thing or item we could find is normally the skull, because the skull will normally have teeth attached to it. Teeth help solve a lot of missing persons cases because of dental records and so forth. And but bones, there's always a chance of if they're buried and keeping the bones out of the element, there's always a chance of getting DNA out of the bone marrow.
Okay.
Uh,
So just because
to
you have
help.
bones, it doesn't mean that you have DNA, because sometimes it can be washed out or faded or.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
some people are saying they took the bone. Some people are saying they left the bone. Some people are saying it's an old burial site, but my understanding it's a wash. Why would there be a burial site where a wash is at? And
Well, I
how?
think it's important to look at the totality of everything. It's in a wash, so it could be a human or animal. But is it close to anything? Is it close to a an area where it's a populated area? Sometimes people go hiking and they have a medical incident,
Okay.
heart attack or something like that, and they pass. Others, it could be that maybe there was some really bad weather and they got stuck, or they were hiking out there and they fell in the wash.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Lord knows you saw how many times I
We
busted
slipped.
my behind out there.
Yeah.
So, but they
Um.
do. One of the things that's important to recognize is if it was human remains, if a coroner or a medical examiner, if you will, came out there and said, yes, this is human remains, they're not going to leave the bone out there ever.
Even if
I
it's
don't care
ancient
how,
burial grounds or
no,
anything like
yeah,
that.
no matter how old
Okay.
it is.
So if they determine it's human, the remains are being removed for investigation purposes.
Yes, we've had cadaver dogs that have found uh, bones belonging, as far back as Indians.
That's what
You
I was going
know,
to ask you. How far back, like years wise, how far back can a cadaver dog go?
they could go per. That they found bones, that have been there for hundreds of years.
Really?
Yes.
So cadaver dogs can find scents of human, like the scent of human, 200
Yeah.
years after you pass away.
Yeah. You got to
Oh
remember
wow.
the dog's sense of smell is tens of thousands of times stronger than a human is
Okay.
capable of. Yeah.
And then Wow. Do you think like this situation you're saying it could have been someone that was hiking years ago, fell, passed away, water pushed dirt over him, something like that? Or what like this situation right here, what are you thinking?
Out there in the desert, as you well know, we found evidence of, human smuggling.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends. That's for a determination way beyond my pay grade. That's a medical examiner, anthropologist coming out. And in the United States, we have some of the best in the world that can really figure that stuff out as far as
I just
how
found
petrified the bone is, whether it's human or not, and so forth.
I found a better picture of the bone right here when he first found it. Are you able to see this on the screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. To me, it looks like it's been, this section right here has been out in the elements for some time, and then you can see where the darker spots where the dirt was kind of possibly being washed away from it. But it definitely looks very old. There's no chance that that's anything recent. If that is human remains. Have you ever seen human remains piled up like that with rock and debris and dirt, where it looks like it was just part of the ground?
Oh yeah.
Really? And typically, when they're in the dirt like this, how old are they usually?
Again, that's a difficult question to answer because until you actually recover the remains, it's hard to tell. I can't just say, oh, look at this. This has been out here 20 years, 30 years. It's a science. Things have to be tested chemically and, through photo analysis as well, DNA analysis. Sometimes you find bones out there that is a missing person from 5, 10 years ago. Other times it could be over 100 years.
Okay. Now, and then back to Nancy Guthrie, because this was found while a YouTuber AJW News, which would be awesome if viewers go check him out, hit that subscribe to him, because he's trying to do his best and do what he can to help search for Nancy Guthrie. Back to the Nancy Guthrie case. How do you feel about the case and the whole, the rift between the FBI and Sheriff Nanos and I guess what I'm trying to ask you, I'll just spit it out. What do you think about the DNA situation where they sent the hair follicles to Florida instead of to the FBI lab? Or are you educated on that part right now?
Yeah, so I know a little bit about it, but
Yeah.
I will say it's kind of from what I heard, it's very disappointing to me because I was told, and we all have our connections, right? We all have our sources,
Yeah.
and I was told that even though the FBI was available
Yeah.
at the time, that the sheriff decided to send the DNA to a lab in Florida that they use. And, to me, that's mind boggling because I understand that they have a relationship with that lab. But when you have the number one investigative agency in the entire world offering up their help, why not take it? And why not take it right away? You're not going to hurt Florida's feelings by sending DNA to Quantico, Virginia, and letting the FBI have that and determine, whose DNA that belongs to. I don't think it should ever be a competition or, I wish everybody's DNA could be sent to the FBI, but that's just not reasonable, right?
I like what you just said, though. You don't think it should be a competition, and I agree with you. I don't think that it should be a competition. It should be a collaboration where they work with each other,
Bingo.
where they're offering support and accepting help. And, you know, maybe the FBI is like, hey, can you guys help us out with this? The sheriff's, hey, can you help us out with this? Because at the end of the day, both agencies want the same result and they want the case to be solved. So 100%, you hit the nail on the head. It should never be a competition. Absolutely not.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing that not a lot of people are talking about is we seem to have forgotten in 97 days, and I would go as far back as even 6-7 days after Nancy went missing. There's still a kidnapper / killer out there.
Absolutely.
You know, and to me, you know, you got that kind of individual out there that's willing to do something like that.
Yeah.
Don't blow smoke at me or the rest of the community and say we don't believe there's a danger to the community. Because if you do that, then you're showing a high level of ego and ignorance all at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know?
Now, also, we spent what, like 3 or 4 days searching together at Nancy Guthrie's, the area where Nancy Guthrie went missing, within like 20-30 minutes of her house. I feel like tagging along with you taught me a lot about searching and the way criminals think and where you should be looking for a body. And I appreciate all the help and the information and education you gave me. Do you want to go back out there?
I definitely do. Again, not wanting to contradict what law enforcement did in the very beginning or did not do in the very beginning. But I don't see this suspect driving around with Nancy's body in their vehicle for a great distance. Right? Especially at 0:30 in the morning, where there's fewer cars than normal. You know, I don't see, well, I should say, I don't necessarily agree with this whole idea that she was moved to Mexico and taken across the border and stuff like that. You got to remember, you know, when he went into that house, whether people will agree with it or not, he went in with bad intentions. Whether it was, some people say, oh, a burglary gone wrong. Others will say it was an abduction. And then others, you know, few will say he went in there with the intention of, you know, sexual assault and something went wrong and then he had to take the body. All of those things compound risk, right? For somebody to take a body out of the house, that risk level gets amplified many times. And then to have to travel a great distance with that body, that amplifies the risk level even further. I don't see somebody driving around with a deceased 84-year-old woman for a great distance.
Honestly, I don't either.
Yeah. Have serial killers and SA killers done that before? Yes. You know,
so it's happened, but it's not likely, not common.
It's not common, especially if you look at this guy's behavior on the video that everybody has seen.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of people are not giving this guy enough credit for his planning and the reconnaissance job that he did and how well he did and is still doing, to not have gotten caught yet. But at the same time, I don't think he's ever done this before based on his behavior. So, I don't think he would have been that comfortable to say, you know what, I know I could pull this off and drive around at 3:45 in the morning and get from point A to point B and not get caught. I don't see that.
I don't either. I learned something from you, and that was when you pull up, you park somewhere on a road, you stop on the road, and you slam the door, and you see if a dog's barking, see if you can see cars, see if you can see lights, if you can see any front doors of the houses. Basically, you look for concealment and then sound to see if you can disturb anybody. Something in my gut says that I think she passed away during the kidnapping, maybe very quickly after she left the house or during the process. And my heart, like deep down inside, I have a gut feeling to where I think that she was dumped on the side of the road somewhere. And I want to go back and look too. I really feel like she's within like 30 feet of a road, just somewhere. And then with how much time has passed, I don't think we're gonna be looking if she is out in the area like that. I think we're gonna be looking for bones, not a body. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So day 97 out in the elements of the desert, you got heat index, you got cold, you got animals. I strongly suspect that it's nothing but bones. And then on the other side of the coin, it would not be uncommon for those bones to be spread out in an area, especially if there was a large animal, amount of activity. So yeah, just trying to be sensitive to some of the people that may be listening or watching, because it is difficult. A lot of people that pay attention to these podcasts and stuff do have missing loved ones and so forth, and they're never found. And obviously that is always the worst thing to happen to any family, is the not knowing. But you have to be honest with them and be real with your audience, and especially when people want to go out and help look. Yeah. There's a lot of people that will think, oh, we're just going to go out there and find a big pile of bones and that'll be it. Well, when we went out and helped with Brian Laundrie, we found some of his bones a mile away from where his skull was actually found.
Yeah,
and the majority of his remains.
That's interesting. Do you want to kind of like talk about that a little bit? I know you told me a little bit on the phone and in person, but just the way that scene that was interesting, because like you said, there was bones a mile away. What caused him to get a mile away?
Yeah, so unlike the desert, we have different animal activity over here on the East Coast, right? Mm-hmm. Especially down in Florida, it's a lot of swamp. We have majority of the animal stuff we deal with is our gators and hogs. And when Brian Laundrie's body was found, his skull and some other bones were found next to he was keeping like a diary about Gabby Petito. So the majority of bones were found where he essentially died. But then we also found some of his other remains a little over a mile away where, following the hog trails, we were able to determine that, they basically took Brian away from that area. And, you know, that's where some of his bones were recovered.
Okay. I've also got, this is change subject. I've got some people in the chat right now. They want to know two things. One person has, a couple people have asked, do you think Nancy is still alive?
I don't.
Okay. And why? Just the amount of time?
No, I think, again, you know, looking at the totality of the circumstances, you know, one of the things I'll always tell families is never give up hope, right? Because there's always that chance. But when it comes down to 97 days,
Yeah.
and looking at the criminality involved with this case, especially the blood on the front porch, something definitely went wrong. And she was transported. And that was that. You know, I think we have to be real about what took place. She was not in very good health. And when you weigh those factors in, you as an investigator, you have to be not only honest with the family, but you have to be honest with yourself, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean you put blinders on, but you really have to. I tell people all the time, and I still tell young agents and prospective law enforcement officers, you always follow the evidence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not your personal feelings, not your hopes and desires. You have to follow the evidence and the level of criminality.
I agree. So even though, you know, you don't want to kind of like be rude about it, but the evidence, like her medical condition, the time it's been, no communication from the alleged kidnapper. The other question is, there's articles out there, news press releases where news stations are possibly claiming that people are now starting to think that the kidnapper is deceased. Do you think that's a possibility?
The kidnapper's deceased, like maybe he was a number two and the other kidnapper killed him not to turn him in hopes of not turning him in,
or the person that, maybe it's one person that did this and the person's dead. Maybe he passed away.
I don't know. When you go to the level that he did, which was doing reconnaissance, we know, or at least we believe, based on what we've been told, that there was some reconnaissance on, I think it was January 11th.
Yeah.
And then February 20 something. So that shows detailed planning, right?
Yes.
That shows that somebody's been thinking about this for a while. So I don't see this guy killing himself. You know, we talked about this before, the ego and the super ego. I think he was, you know, I think this whole time that was planning, he was getting off on it because there was some fantasy that he was fulfilling in one way, shape, or form. So now, does the possibility exist that, you know, he may have been hired by somebody and, you know, essentially lied to, like, hey, you kidnap this woman for me, and whether she dies or not, I'm going to take care of you and give you all kinds of money and stuff like that. And then the person ends up killing the guy that did the kidnapping. Yeah, there's always that possibility.
Okay.
I still, in my heart of heart, I don't think, I'm not believing, and until I see otherwise based on the evidence, I don't think anybody else was involved in this.
Okay, so you're thinking it's just a solo person.
Yeah, I
And
think this was done as to feed into a fantasy, um, and a revenge type of kidnapping and murder. Um, and I use that word murder lightly because, for the fantasy to continue, obviously, if the body or the person was to remain alive, be it for a few days or a month or a year, that fantasy would be very strong and continue. But um, even after the person passes, the suspect can still carry on that fantasy because he hasn't gotten caught yet. He's the only one right now that knows where Nancy's remains are. So he's still in control. He's the only one, and this is just my opinion, he's the only one that made Savannah suffer the way he wanted her to suffer. That's what I believe.
so you're thinking it was the obsession with Savannah, and to get to Savannah, he used Nancy Guthrie because she was the weak link through everything.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
people that do or commit these kind of crimes,
Yeah.
if they can't get to the person that they fantasize about, directly, they will do something to where they can affect them indirectly.
So
And I think this guy was in Nancy's house maybe for a day or two, maybe did some work in there like AC work, electrical work, plumbing, that kind of stuff. He knew the inside of the house. I'm sure Nancy had photos up there of her and Savannah. So there's that connection there, right?
yeah.
And so the sexual fantasy would be, how do I get Savannah to communicate with me?
And then
I think
her releasing those
he went
videos.
home and thought about it and fantasized about it, and then decided, let me do some recon. Let me tell you, when he went on, if it was him, on January 11th, he was already sexually excited as far as the fantasy. Just driving from wherever he left from to Nancy's house, that fantasy was increasing. And I think you're going to find out, or we'll all find out, that he did a number of recons of Nancy's residence and neighborhood, and was fulfilling his fantasy just by watching.
So you
And
think he's been there multiple times, and if that's the case, somebody's bound to have seen him or his vehicle. That's what I'm thinking. At some point.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said, if he's been there at the house multiple times, somebody in that area was bound to, at one point in time, day or night, is bound to see him or his vehicle. Maybe if he was casing the neighborhood, went for an afternoon walk in the neighborhood to just like kind of put eyes on the place. Maybe he drove the neighborhood a couple times during the day to see if he saw a ring camera. Do you think he was seen by other people? Like somebody at some point, maybe they don't know it, they saw the perp in the neighborhood, but had no idea, like, hey, this guy's going to kidnap Nancy Guthrie in 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah. So I think what's important is if you look at Nancy's neighborhood, right? It's not a cookie cutter neighborhood where the houses are 15, 30 feet separation from one house to another, right?
Yeah.
It's a very open and vast area. When you have work trucks, for instance,
Yeah.
that are driving around that area, it's it's a daily activity, right? Nobody is
Absolutely.
watching and saying, "Oh, there's Nico's plumbing truck driving through the neighborhood."
They're
You
just
know,
thinking, oh,
especially not if he's going to directly to a residence where he knows he's going. Now, if it was just a random, I'm going to do this crime and I'm going to do it now. I just got to drive around and find my victim. Well, then, yeah, there's a good chance somebody is going to notice that because he's, it's he's taking a chance by driving around that house, that neighborhood multiple times, and people are going to be like, "What the hell is this guy doing? He's driven by my house 4 times now." But if this guy already knew where he was going because he had been there before,
yeah.
you know, he drives that van or truck or what have you up Nancy's driveway. I think I showed you some of those cacti and trees there in front
Yeah.
of her house. He could. You remember how dark that was, right?
Oh,
You
dude,
put a vehicle
it's
behind
pitch
that.
black, and
Yeah,
if you walk 5 feet off the road, even in that neighborhood on someone's property, cars that are driving by can't even see you. Not even 5 feet
correct.
off the road. The vegetation out there is just so thick,
Hmm.
and it's unforgiving too. It's real prickly, pokey. When you and I were hiking and looking, I got a lot of little scratches on my arms that now turn into little mini scars because the
Yeah,
shrubbery out there is just it's unforgiving.
yeah,
But I'm gonna say this, Nico. You proved to myself and you proved to the world that searching that type of terrain is possible. 100% possible. It's possible to search.
yeah. And it's it's not an easy task. I wish I wish they would have thought of having or asking, for a call to action and bringing out. I don't know how many people we talked to, right? When I was out there,
Oh, a lot.
well over 100 and something people. They all wanted to help. Neighbors, people in the outlying areas. Even I talked to some of the people at CVS. They were frustrated because they were like, "Why aren't people out there searching?"
Dude,
I'll go out and search.
you hear of missing persons and immediately think, oh, this person's missing. This person was possibly kidnapped. This person was possibly murdered. And in the back of my head, I visualize search parties, a bunch of people wearing reflective vests, just walking the area. And I haven't
Mhm.
seen that from anybody except for people like you and YouTubers.
Well, and then you got to think also, what was what was the reason behind not letting the United Cajun Navy come out? You know, what
I
was the reason behind not having a community search? And I get it. There's always risk, right?
mm-hmm.
There's always going to be some level of risk. Well, you make sure that it's abundantly clear that if you want to take part in this search, you have to understand you need to be physically capable. You need to have a water element. You need to have a form of communication, and you need to go out in twos and threes, not out wandering around the desert by yourself. Because the next thing you
Absolutely.
know, we'll be searching for you,
I
right?
agree.
So I think there was enough people out there, especially like hunters and hikers and stuff that who knows the terrain better. And
The
if they're
locals,
willing to help, why not?
I agree.
We we just had two We just had a huge case here in Tampa.
Okay.
And it was two young students. They were from Bangladesh. This just happened a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks now. And they went missing. And right off the bat, we knew that there was criminality attached to it. But law enforcement put out information. Law enforcement kept everybody up to date with the information. And within a week of them actually putting the information out, the first body was recovered. And then just a day or two after that.
And what case? Real fast, if you don't mind me asking, what's their names? The case. Well,
two students from Bangladesh. They were going to the University of South Florida. One male, one female, and both of them were seeking their doctorate degrees, and just really good students, really, well-behaved kids, never been in trouble ever. All they wanted to do was study and, hang out with their friends and do what college kids do.
Is this them right here?
Yes.
Huh.
And we found his body first. And then, because the public was made aware and asked to be on the lookout and help, there were a couple of kayakers out there fishing. And one guy's fishing line got caught up on a black plastic bag.
A bag?
Black plastic bag, a trash bag, if you will. So, contractor bag.
Holy crap.
And that's where, and he got close to it, smelled the odor of decomp, called law enforcement, and her body was recovered. So that's the benefit of law enforcement and the community working together.
Amen to that.
Right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow!
And there's a guy in jail right now. It's going to be a death penalty case. He's been charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. So when somebody says, "Oh, we can't have the public help because it's a criminal case," well, that's kind of BS. The only time I believe that would happen is if somebody's ego is involved. Nobody, a lot of people out there, number one, that are willing to help, they'll know enough. Like, yeah, they might touch a bag and maybe open it up just to see, but I guarantee you, if just like this guy, when he smells the odor of decomposition or sees a human skull or body, 99.9% of the people out there are going to back off and go, "Oh, 911."
Yeah, I mean, I almost wanted to call 911 when you and I found that bag of meat. Remember the bag of meat walking down the road? I mean, thankfully you're able to recognize that it's animal and not human, but it like, that's the thing. Like, you see something like that, oh, I'm not going to mess with this. I'm going to call this in. I'm searching for something. I found it. Let me call law enforcement. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'm just, without saying too much and expressing too much of the way I feel about it, I am extremely frustrated with the fact that the sheriff is discouraging people from searching. I understand. I would discourage people from searching while they're trespassing. Don't trespass. But if you're on a public easement why are you going to give someone a hard time about searching? Why aren't you going to encourage it? As far as the way I look at it is, the more eyes, the better. Even if they're untrained eyes, at least you're getting. Because like look at AJW. He just found those bones yesterday. They, from my understanding, they appear to be human remains. So what do you think would cause the sheriff's department to discourage searching? Because transparency right here, transparency, public help, helped out with this case.
I don't know. I mean, I've dealt with it maybe 2 or 3 times since I've been doing this.
Yeah.
And it was just ego, people that, are afraid if Nico finds the body and my guys don't, then we're not going to look good.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares about who gets the credit? That's somebody's mother and grandmother out there.
I agree with you.
Right? I don't think anybody's going to be pounding their chest saying that, I found Nancy Guthrie and, I outdid the Pima County Sheriff's Office. And then the FBI on the other side of the coin, their expertise is doing what they're doing right now, dealing with, evidence recovery and evidence identification, DNA, and criminal investigation. The FBI doesn't care who gets the credit.
They just want the case solved.
They want the case solved, and guess what? They're going to learn from this also. They've already started learning.
Mm-hmm.
We learn something new every day, whether it's being out there in the field, boots on the ground, or,
Well, I want to go
in a lab.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but let me take that back. I'm going to put you on the spot. Nico, what's it going to take to get you to be boots on the ground, to go back to Tucson? The chat, I have had so many people. Like, I will be live streaming a storm in Colorado, driving in 2 feet of snow, and I look down in the comments. When is Nico going back to Tucson? You need to call Nico. Like, they have not forgotten about you, man. They absolutely love what you got going on. They love the way you.
Those are your full-blooded true crimers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what's it going to take to get you back to Tucson, Nico?
Yeah. So I'm really looking at going out there again in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
These cases are not easy, and even the ones I'm doing out here in Florida, they're it takes time and it takes money, so I got to save up some cash and figure that out.
Well, real fast, speaking of cash, it's not much. Somebody sent me $10. So I got $10 towards your trip. I know it's not much. Maybe it's 2 gallons of gas once you get there. Yeah. But when I can send that to you however you want. If other viewers were to send you a couple bucks, I know you're a really humble person. Would you be okay with that if they find a way to help fund your trip out there? Because I know you have to pay for a plane ticket and all that good stuff.
One of the things, first off, God bless your followers, right? Because, even $10 out of somebody's pocket, people think, oh, it's only $10, but $10 today, can't even get you a meal at McDonald's. Right?
No, it's pricey right now.
With the economy the way it is, and people willing to do that, that says a lot about them.
Absolutely. And the chat's blowing up right now. They're just PayPal ? Venmo ? Yay. Crowdfund.
Those are
People
really
want to
good
help you, Nico. They want to help you.
Yeah, those are really good people. I will tell you, there was one of your followers, I believe,
Okay.
that reached out to me on Messenger,
Mm-hmm.
and you know me, I'm a caveman when it comes to all this technology stuff. So,
Yeah.
but she was like, "Listen, we need people to go out and search for Nancy. What do you think about maybe letting us do a what do you call it,
Like a GoFundMe or something,
a
or
GoFundMe?" Yes. Yeah, and I told her to hold off and let me figure out what that entails or how that works and stuff like that, because
yeah.
people have a hard enough time right now paying for gas.
I agree. I see that myself. My
You
my
know,
truck went up about $30 a tank. So
yes,
it's, but driving to and from Colorado, that $30 every time I fill it up is a lot more than what it adds up. It adds up, and it adds up quick. I'm looking at my calendar. If you go back to Tucson, is it okay if I tag along and try to help you search like we did last time?
listen,
Are
man.
you open to that?
Yeah. So I don't care. I don't care who wants to come out and search, because you next to Nico with a 15-foot distance between us. Now we're covering 45 feet, linear feet, as we're walking through the desert. Can
Absolutely.
you imagine if we had 100 people? Right? So anybody that wants to help, I don't care if they're military, former law enforcement, a soccer mom,
Nanos?
a
Can we
huh?
invite Nanos?
Oh yeah,
I will hand deliver an invitation to Nanos when I go out there.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
I
I
mean,
had to.
I'm smiling about it, and I probably shouldn't be, because
Yeah.
I even know that he's in charge. I know that there's a lot of deputies that wished things would have been done differently.
I agree.
Even though there was evidence, clear evidence, that there was criminality involved, to wait 2 days is crazy.
Oh, I agree.
It's crazy. And then to release the crime scene
That's
as
insane.
fast as they did. What? I'm sorry.
That's insane. The way I'm just pulling up my chat so I can see
Never,
it down
never,
below.
never saw that in the history of my
So
career.
so there was when I came back from Tucson one time, there was I think the last time actually, there was a police standoff in Porterville, California, about 45 minutes north of me. An officer unfortunately got shot and killed, lost his life. They ended up taking the suspect down, but that property that it happened at was taped off for a couple days. And the cul-de-sac, neighbors were upset because they couldn't even get into the cul-de-sac. I understand an officer lost his life, and I understand the suspect was ran over and killed. But the thing is different situations, still a crime scene, horrible tragedy. God rest his soul to the officer that passed away. But they held that crime scene. They did an amazing job. Tulare Sheriff's Department, Kern County Sheriff's Department, they worked together. And the Kern County Sheriff's Department Bearcat that ran over the suspect was stuck on scene for like, I think 24 hours afterwards before they actually loaded it up and took it in. And they had it all taped off. You could not go on that property. You cannot go in the cul-de-sac. Why wasn't this case right here, which is one of the biggest cases in the nation, why was it handled this way? Is it they just don't handle criminal cases? Do they not handle murders? Why? My question is why? We see what, now I want to know why.
Again, I'm going to go back to, first of all, you got to give credit where credit's due. Pima County, if you look at their stats, their stats overall are pretty good. They do have an overabundance of unsolved homicides. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have a tremendous backlog and they can't keep up with it and they just don't have enough people. I don't know, so I'm not going to pass judgment on that.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that releasing a crime scene when they released it is unconscionable. You to me, that screams to everybody else. That screams, this is me. This is what I can do. And this is my ego.
So,
and I don't care who wants to help, who thinks that they can solve this or whatever. We're going to do things, and we're going to do things my way. And when you have somebody like that, it's very, very difficult to do your job.
It is.
As a detective, even as a street cop, you know?
It goes into micromanaging, and I, as someone that worked in the oil fields a long time, I always had a hard time when I was getting micromanaged with everything I do. And I noticed that the people that micromanage the most were the people that have the biggest egos. That look at me, I'm a Barney badass. I know more than you'll ever know. I forgot more than you'll ever know. Like, and then I've noticed that the people that's always got their arms open, like, yeah, you know, you come in, let's do this. I'll guide you if you need help, but I'm gonna let you do your thing. You know, I'm gonna welcome you to come in and help, welcome you to do your job. Those people usually know how to get a job done better without causing conflict. And in my opinion, they tend to make a little bit less mistakes. Egos cause mistakes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And micromanagement.
100%. And I don't care what agency you're in. You know, in the Marine Corps, we used to say, you always have that 10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one bad apple or what have you. Well, you might, but you could also fix that, right? By having good training and trust and confidence in your subordinates and in your superiors. And that's the way it works. When you have a bunch of egos at the top of the food chain, and yeah, they might know a lot, but if they don't pass on those knowledge and, you know, skills and abilities, that department's going to go to, you know, going to take a crap. Because it's great that you know everything, and you go ahead and take that everything with you, and leave everybody else hanging. That's terrible leadership, right?
I agree.
You're supposed to pass on your knowledge. You're supposed to help people grow. When you get promoted, it's not just so you get a bigger paycheck. You end up having a greater responsibility.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I agree. The higher you go on the totem pole, the more, you know, the more you have to handle. I don't know, the more expectations, the more responsibilities. And I feel like I have my opinion on the way I think about Sheriff Nanos. I see a lot of people commenting their opinions too. So, I really want to go back to Tucson, and you're saying maybe 2 more weeks?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks. I'm really interested to see what this turnaround is going to be on this hair sample.
Okay.
Um,
So you're pretty. You think that this hair sample is most likely the perps?
oh, I don't know. But it seems to have more focus on a lot of the stuff that's already been collected. So it could be the way they identified it. Facial hair grows differently than body hair.
Okay.
Pubic hair grows differently than head hair and facial hair. So it just depends. There was something that drew them to have more focus on this broken piece of hair. I think we would have had the results already if it would have had a root, but it just takes more time when there's not. So, but I am excited about it. And I think there's a lot of stuff that they have that all of us don't know about. Because I will tell you, when the FBI goes in there and you see them walking all those black boxes in, those are small portable vacuum cleaners, if you will.
Really?
And they are vacuuming everything, from Nancy's bed to the carpet to the tables. You got to remember.
I didn't know they actually use vacuums.
Oh yeah.
That's really interesting.
And then all of that stuff that is essentially picked up has to be separated, has to be identified, the different fibers. Different hair follicles have to be separated. So yeah, and don't forget, she's lived in that house for 50 years, so it's
gonna have a lot of evidence and stuff from other situations, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's really interesting. So they might be accidentally pulling up a decades old piece of hair that's been laying, in the corner of her bedroom for a long time.
Yep. And
Wow.
and maybe just from 6 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and people will think like, oh, what are you going to do? People were in that house 3 months ago or 6 months ago. She had a party and stuff like that. Well, who was the uninvited guest? Why did that HVAC person take so much time working on the AC unit and really didn't do much?
That's interesting. Yeah, why? I mean, how would they know though? Because do you think they have more video going back, like more than what they just had?
If you think about this, right? If let's say you were in Tucson with Nico and we're running around crazy looking for Nancy, and your plumbing went, right?
Mm-hmm.
First thing your wife's going to do is call you, right?
Yeah.
And say, you need to get back home. We don't have any running water. And what are you going to do? You're going to be like, all right, hon, let me call a plumber and get somebody over there and check it out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then the guy shows up, and normally those issues are resolved in an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe two. But
Well,
what
I mean,
if this guy?
it's funny you say that because I just had my fence broke, and the dog's out in my backyard from the neighbor's house, and I was in the middle of a live stream, and my wife, I'm in Colorado, so she calls a friend, and my buddy came over and fixed the fence. So, I mean, it happens all the time. Who are you going to call?
And just think about this. Nancy's in the house by herself, right? Mm-hmm. Annie and Tommaso are her caregivers, right? So if something, if let's say they have an AC problem. Nancy calls Annie. Annie calls Tommaso, and Tommaso says, all right, I'll do some research and get a good AC guy to come out and do it. And then the next thing you know, that AC guy was in the house 4 or 5 hours, but it was a simple fix. There was no AC handler replacement, no air conditioner replacement, no ductwork done. Well, what did you do in the house for that long?
But the other thing is
maybe
how are they going to know?
Maybe this will spark a memory with either Annie, Tommaso, or even Savannah that, Nancy had said maybe like, oh, I had a nice conversation with Jimmy the plumber. We had coffee and he was such a nice man. He told me about all his kids and he just loved Savannah's photo. Or he told me that, he watches Savannah all the time. That might not have been important 3, 4, 6 months ago, but could be very, very important right now.
Maybe try to think back. The family needs to think back and see if they've heard any odd comments from a visitor or a contractor or someone that was trying a little too hard not to show that they're impressed that they're related to Savannah Guthrie.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that struck me early on was, I don't know, I don't want to keep, I don't think we beat up on Nanos, but when he nonchalant, he made it was like nonchalant, like, yeah, well, Nancy kept her back door open all the time or unlocked all the time.
Uh-huh.
That could have came up in conversation with the plumber, right?
Yeah.
He could have noticed when he came in through the front door and he's walking around and he's going to check the AC units in the backyard, that the door was unlocked.
So you think that you're really thinking that this is highly likely that it's a contractor of some sort.
I think it's somebody that has been in that house or at that house before, 1 or 2 solid times, for long enough to know the layout of the house. Because remember, one of the things they said, there was no forced entry.
Yep.
Right?
That's true. No forced entry. And when I was out there in the very beginning, the only thing I saw was a missing ring camera, the Nest camera.
And don't forget that the back gate was propped open, and the screen door was propped open with a planter, right?
Yeah.
So the intention was going into the house.
I actually haven't heard about the planter.
Yeah, and leaving the house the same way he came in. But when something happened in that house, knowing it was a shorter distance from the bedroom through the front door and into the vehicle, that's why he made that decision.
But why would he go outside, walk around the house, and rip off the ring camera? Why wouldn't he just open the front door and reach around and pull it off?
Because it was easier for him to go right back out those doors that were propped open and then check out the area. He's got it. Let's say she's hurt or deceased already, right?
Yeah.
He's taken off that gun. He's taken off that backpack because he's got to carry her out. He's not throwing Nancy over his shoulder wearing that backpack. It doesn't make tactical sense. She's going to be hard enough to carry by herself without having those obstructions.
So do you think she was already knocked out? Like, maybe unconscious at the time that he walked up to the front door?
Maybe she was incapacitated somehow.
Dude, that makes my heart drop just to think that he's standing at the front door right here Well, Nancy may be unconscious. That's scary.
That blood on the front porch is very telling as far as I'm concerned. Very telling.
Because didn't you told me, was it you that did the test where you had your friend over your shoulder and
I did.
had your
Yeah.
friend slap the water out?
Yep.
How did that go again? What
So
was?
so we were trying to figure out going through the threshold of that door, how that blood pattern, which is an up and down 90-degree pattern,
Yeah.
why it would drop like that, why it would have air in it, and why there would appear to be sputum in the center of it. Okay. And are you familiar with fireman's carry?
Yeah, over your shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah. With their head up here and their back right here. Just
Correct. With the head behind, right? So if he throws Nancy over his shoulder in the fireman's carry and is going through the front door, and he has to adjust her body. You got to remember, her abdomen and sternum is up on his shoulder. So even if he just adjusts to make sure that he can carry her through, it's going to push a lot of air out. Okay.
So
Which could push.
being on your shoulder is going to force you to make it harder for you to breathe, and you're going to be kind of spitting air out anyways. So that could help. That would.
And that's if you're breathing.
So you think she was breathing at the time?
I don't know. It does look like it's oxygenated blood. So maybe. Now, one of the things that was at least not mentioned that I'm aware of is there was no blood markings on the threshold. In other words, the wooden door frame, right?
Yeah.
So that could negate maybe her face hitting the door frame. But we don't know that. We don't know really what was found on the inside.
Now also
But I can tell you, when I did the experiment with my friend, when I adjusted, now he was 180 pounds, right? 188, right? So I tried to get somebody as light as Nancy, but I don't have that many small friends.
don't have that many small friends.
If I would have asked my wife, she would have smacked me upside the head.
Yeah.
But when I adjusted him, right, keep in mind his head is in the back, and I'm walking through my door, and right at the threshold, I adjust and I step down and out. He spit that water out. I walked about 6 feet out, put him back down, and we both saw where the water droplets were.
Yeah.
But you know where the majority of the water was?
I'm going to assume it got nasty on your back.
On my back and on the back of my leg.
So this guy, there's almost no way that this guy didn't have contaminated clothing.
I'd bet a lot of money on that he did have contaminated outerwear. Yeah.
So do you think with him having contaminated clothing through in his vehicle, whether it's a truck, car, whatever it is, wherever this vehicle is, there's got to be some type of DNA on the driver's seat, unless he changed right there and removed his clothing.
That's why post events and actions are so critical. Like if somebody noticed old Jimmy or John, was cutting out the carpet in the trunk of their vehicle, or taking their vehicle to the car wash every single day and
something as simple as swapping out your seat covers. I got new seat covers.
Yeah.
Shortly after that. So maybe viewers from Tucson, if you guys or even Phoenix, if you guys have a friend that is about the same size as this guy and they swapped out seat covers even, that could be a lead. It's something as so simple as that. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe the backpack could have contained a change of clothes?
Honestly, I think that backpack contained a kidnapping kit along with I forget if you did any hunting or not,
Yeah,
but
I've done a lot of hunting.
so you know what a drag bag is?
Where you put all the meat in it.
Yeah, well, you put your deer or whatever in it, and it helps you negotiate the terrain, right? Well, some of those things are really good. I mean, some of them have heavy duty zippers, but a lot of them have those the cloth ties. And if you have a male deer, a buck, right?
Yeah,
The head
has the
is
antlers.
is out because of the antlers and stuff. And what's to say, who knows what size drag bag he had? But if Nancy's head was outside of that bag and he has that drag bag over his shoulder, that drag bag is going to be contaminated. But then it also supports the idea of why those droplets were in the form that they were.
Yeah.
There were 90-degree droplets, and that's why I didn't have any footprints going through the water when we did that test.
That's the other thing. There's no footprints in the blood, so that would
No, those
explain
blood drops are not disturbed.
if
You know,
him putting her on his shoulder in the fireman carry would and walking out, she's spitting blood out behind his back as he's walking forward. So that would explain why the blood has no footprints in it, because he's walking away from the blood as it drops on the ground.
correct. And even if he takes her and leans over to place the body in the trunk or the side of a van or on the floorboard of a car, all of that blood is still going to be on him and nowhere else, because now the head is moving forward.
Now, what do you think about when I was out there? I stood at the road and I zoomed in onto the porch to where I could see the blood, because while I was out there, there was still blood there in the very beginning. But I didn't see it go into the gravel. What's your take on that? Not from my perspective, to me, it looked like the blood stopped at the porch. And when the terrain changed, you're walking up that gravel walkway or the concrete, whatever that is, right? I think it may have been concrete before it hits the gravel driveway. I only saw it go to the tile. I didn't see it go past the driveway area right here. I got my mouse, this part right here, I didn't see any blood on. And then I didn't see any evidence of blood in the driveway, because I zoomed in quite a bit. I have a mega zoom camera, and I tried seeing everything I could, because I'm nosy. And what do you think about it potentially stopping
That's
right
why
here?
I'm a firm believer in getting inside the mind of the criminal and running all of the possibilities and tests that you can. People may think, oh, this guy's crazy, doing all these tests and stuff like that. But it was the nighttime test that we did, where we slammed the car door, and didn't hear anything. Then we went to a different place and slammed the car door, and it woke up the whole neighborhood. Right?
Nico, I never said this before, but when you first did it, you didn't tell me what you were doing. You're just stop, and you just slammed my door super hard, and I'm just thinking, what the actual fudge? It's like, did I piss this guy off? Like, why are you violently slamming my door? And then you explained it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Let me slam my door too.
Yeah, I learned that. Actually learned that from a street cop who was a master at solving burglaries and home robberies and stuff like
Really?
that. So yeah, that's how the guy used to go around and figure out what neighborhoods were safe to rob
hit.
people at, because some people don't like big dogs, and that's how you check, right?
Yeah.
But again, just doing that test Now, remember where I said I thought he parked the vehicle
Yeah.
right outside the walkway there?
Was it on the left side of right here?
Yes. Yeah.
So you think he parked right here?
Yeah, behind that cacti and stuff.
Yeah. Because it's out of the sight of the front door. It's out of the sight of the road because there's up higher right here. There's a bunch of shrubs, trees, and cacti in between the road and her driveway. And you have to kind of like peek in between the bushes to see her house.
And if you remember when a few of us drove, I think it was me, you, Alex, and JLR maybe, or somebody, Ted maybe. So. But when we drove,
it was Ted.
Those perspective routes at nighttime. Remember when we cut the headlights off? Mm-hmm. Right, it was pitch dark. But then, do you remember when the headlights were back on when we were coming back to Nancy's house? It lit up the front of the road, but it did not illuminate Nancy's house or that driveway up there.
That is true.
Right? So even if somebody was driving by, they're concentrating on that road and not Nancy's front door.
So even if they drive by, you can't see what's going on up here unless you turn a light.
Right.
Because to see her house at night, I have to turn my big lights on. I used to sit right across the street and I would live stream, talking to the viewers and just kind of watching cops come and go and just overnight activity. And even then, I had to have a big light on the house for my camera and myself to see the house. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you just see silhouette of trees in the background. It is pitch black out there. Like the stars shining above you are illuminating the ground. That's how dark it is. Mm-hmm. So, what way do you think they went out of there? Like we drove that neighborhood. What way do you think he took out? Have you had any ideas?
I normally what people will do is they will go back the same way they came in because that's the familiar area, right? Me personally, I just suspect when he pulled in that driveway, he pulled in the way he did. He stopped the vehicle. He committed the crime. Mm-hmm. And with her, he drove out and then went back the same way he came. Because you got to remember, too, if what they're telling us is true, that there was at least 2 other times when he was there doing reconnaissance, one of the things that people will do, especially, criminals, they will recon the route, right? Because they want to know how long is it going to take me to get from point A to point B.
Yep.
And they want to go through the path of least resistance and a path where there's going to be the fewer vehicles. I mean, again, that's why I think they should really give this guy some credit because he did it at the exact time when people are normally in their REM sleep, their deepest form of sleep.
He did. Now, and he did all this, his reconnaissance, as you call it. He did his research. He did his routing. If he visited this neighborhood, he did all of this without being seen, without being stopped, and allegedly without being questioned. And then he broke into her house, disabled her somehow, carried her out of the house, loaded her up, drove out of that area, and then disposed of her at an unknown location or did something with her without getting caught. So even though this guy looks like an absolute fool as he's doing his little front video thing or, doing this thing at the front door, he looks like an absolute joke doing this, but he did this good enough that he did not get caught. He did such an amazing job. I have seen cases where like law enforcement officers and retired vets have done something really, really bad and they still got caught. So he did better than most people out there because a lot of people get caught doing something this insane, this crazy. He was very well researched. And the other question I have to you is, what do you think about the possible or potential online searches? I'm hearing rumors that there is searches from an IP address related to Grand Junction, Colorado, and then also a couple other searches that were from Tucson. Is that are those leads, or is that just random people searching the internet? Or have you heard about that?
I have heard about it, and frankly, I don't have enough information to really make a qualified
Like it's
even comment on
opinion.
that.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think this guy is very far away. Honestly, I think that, just my personal opinion, I think the answer lies in Phoenix. I don't think she was brought south to the border.
Okay.
Only because I know those federal dogs out there, Border Patrol trackers, the technology that they have out there, especially with this new administration. Why would you even, it's a great enough risk taking that body outside the house. Now you want to try and bring her into a country through a border that, whether you see it or not, is very guarded. And
The surveillance on the border right now is insane. All
yeah,
day
and
long, I'm watching the flight radars, and I just see a bunch of military choppers coming back and forth. So
yeah,
I
especially at POEs, like you're not going to drive a vehicle through the POE at that time in the morning without somebody being very alert to it. Um, and I know, thousands and thousands of people cross that border every day. But let me tell you, since this new administration, every license plate is being read, coming and going, and
So you think that if he went across the border in a vehicle at a point of entry into Mexico, you think they would have seen his license plate and his vehicle would have been looked at? Like you think they're looking at license plates that cross the border around that time?
I'm thinking that they would not have taken the chance. Why? Why would you? You're already taking a tremendous chance in taking her body out of that house. And now
I
you're,
know I wouldn't want to drive across the border with ammo in my
well,
backseat.
not only that, you got to drive 63.7 miles from Nancy's house to the port of entry.
With blood on you and a bloody woman in the back.
Yeah, it just,
And you
on
better
the
hope
other
that you just
side
get
of the
waved on
coin,
through
though,
and
just like Brian Culpepper, or Kohlberger,
uh-huh.
when he killed those 4 kids, he was full of blood.
Yep.
Okay. And look how well he performed by not leaving any evidence but that one speck of trace evidence on that button on the sheath, on the knife sheath. That is what's going to solve this crime as well.
One tiny piece of evidence can break the case.
Yes.
I got a lot of hope for this hair follicle. Like I don't want to say that the hair follicle is the only way to get the case broke, but I feel like this hair that got sent to the lab in Florida and now the FBI has all this time later. I'm really hoping and praying that links the suspect to the case. I really do.
Yeah.
A lot of people are talking about, have asked me about the Uber driver that drove Nancy Guthrie to Annie's house that night. And my opinion on the Uber driver is it's really, I think it's going to be too hard if you work for Uber to randomly get Nancy's drive to randomly become her driver. I think that that's just too much of a coincidence that you're, targeting Nancy. You're in the area at that right time that she's getting a ride, and then you make your thing that night. So what do you think about that?
I agree. I will tell you that we have had cases before where a criminal enterprise involving an Uber driver was operational, where this guy would go and first of all, he would carry a burner. All right. And he would go and he would pick up Mr. and Mrs. Davison.
Oh, no, right? No. Don't say Davidson. That's my last name. No.
And
I'm not getting Uber.
And let's say you guys are going out to dinner, right?
Yeah.
And just as an Uber driver, he would have a conversation with you. And, Mr. Jacob, no kids today or tonight for dinner? And you say, oh, we don't have any kids, or our kids are late to college, or they're out with their friends. You just told me that your house is empty. Okay. And I didn't see any beware. I didn't see any beware of the dog signs out there. I didn't see any ADT signs out there. So guess what? As soon as I drop you off, I'm hitting my boys up.
I'm cutting you off. They're saying no, you can't kidnap Jacob. So don't, if you're thinking about this in the chat, kidnap someone else. Don't do it to me.
So he would text his boys and say, hey, hurry up to 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Lexington Street. Mm-hmm. It's a nice house. These guys are at Cooper's Hawk. They're probably going to be there for at least an hour and a half. And they're going to have to catch an Uber back. So you guys got 2 hours. Hit it. And what's the first thing they're going to do when you make the police report? I don't know. We took an Uber down. Then they come and talk to me. And I'm like, no, bro, here's me. Yeah, I dropped them off at this time. Right after that, I got a couple of calls. Mm-hmm. There was no way I could have had the time.
So Uber driver's going to have a burner phone and have an alibi, and Uber driver's going to be prepared to be investigated.
Yeah.
He's going to have his dot his T's and cross his I's.
Yep.
Pun intended. I have lazy eye. But
now I will tell you, my fingers are crossed that they put that Uber driver on the box to see if he was telling the truth or not.
I remember reading somewhere, it might have been Brian Enton or somewhere. If I remember correctly, I remember hearing something about the Uber driver had a dash cam, like a forward facing and a rear facing, and Nancy Guthrie was seen in that dash cam. If I remember correctly, have you heard about that?
No.
So, I'm gonna look it up real quick.
That makes sense. I mean, especially in this day and age, I think everybody should have dash cams.
FBI has obtained dash cam footage from an Uber driver taken by 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. She was reported missing. Reports indicate the video shows her traveling to a family member's house, and the driver was interviewed and cleared as the footage was deemed to show a normal ride. So, yeah, I do believe that is true. So, to the people in the chat, I have to kind of, there we go.
I would still put him on the box and see if he's even willing to do it. Frankly, I would have put everybody on the box in this case, including Nanos. No, I'm just kidding.
Including Nanos. Hey, I'm not driving around Tucson with you now. You're gonna get pulled over by every one of the sheriffs.
I'll bet you $100, bro. He'd be like, yeah, I'll take it. Just because of the ego.
Hey, I'm willing to bet you that you and I, if we go back to Tucson and we link up and we're live streaming this, I got $5 that says I get pulled over. I heard that they've been pulling over people that have been YouTubing the Nancy Guthrie case
Oh, remember they didn't. Well, they said somebody called it in that we were the
the
guys in
parking.
black or something.
Yeah, 3 men in
Yeah.
black parked,
Yeah.
going down in the riverbed,
Yeah.
and there was not a single no parking sign, and then they gave us a hard time about parking there. Now the
Yeah.
officers were very nice, but they were also very very adamant. Like, this is a no parking zone. You can't be parking here.
Yeah. You can't park there, not even for 5 minutes. But that guy that was almost dead out there, that was
The homeless guy that was
the
camping out
homeless
right
guy
there.
sleeping. Let's not worry about him.
Yeah,
But
let's not
you
worry about the
guys don't-
homeless guy.
Yeah, you guys don't park out here. But this guy that's totally dehydrated and probably not going to live, another couple of days. Let's not worry about him.
Yeah, let's worry about the people that are actually trying to do something good, and not worry about the guy that's most likely,
Yeah. Yeah.
on drugs. Yeah,
Crazy.
3 men in black, myself, Nico, and JLR, had the cops called on us for parking in a spot that didn't say no parking. It looked like a normal car pull off, and walking
they said
on the bridge, on a sidewalk.
The one cop, I think they used the parking as an excuse, but didn't they say it was that we got a report of 3 men all dressed in black
Yep.
running down in the wash or something? Or
And
under the bridge?
they asked for our IDs. Actually, when I was talking to them, they're like, "Well,
Yeah.
just for the report, can I see your ID, please?" I said, "Am I being detained? Is there a ticket? Is there a reason why I need to identify myself via my driver's license?" And they mention something. I said, "Look, unless you legally are required, I'm legally required to give you my ID. Like, it's a lawful order. I don't want to give you my ID because I know what you're going to do. You're going to go back to your car, you're going to run it, and you're going to say my information publicly over the radio, and I'm not okay with that. So unless you are legally required, unless I am legally required to give you my identification, meaning I broke a law or something like that, I do not feel like identifying myself, and I don't want to be disrespectful to you at all, officer." And the officer just shrugged. He said, "Okay,
Yeah.
we're good to go." They
Yeah,
turned around
I
and walked
think
away.
too. Like once they found out, like we were trying to sincerely bring attention to Nancy, and in this day and age, street cops, deputies, road deputies, troopers, they got a lot to deal with, right?
Oh, absolutely.
A couple of bad apples give them, bad raps, but they're dealing with stuff on a daily basis every single day. And they're human beings. They have to go home to their families every night. And no matter how pissed off they are, or, how many times they get spit on or cursed at or recorded or whatever, they're still going back out the next day to protect the community, right? And respond to incidents that some people wish they never had to respond to.
So I don't know if you can see it right here, Nico. This is the interaction
No
with the
parking.
cop.
We just got reports that people dressed in all black. That's
Look
what
at
we
this.
got. We're in the wash.
Oh, we're not in the wash at all.
Okay.
So we're actually just searching different areas for any signs of the Nancy Guthrie case.
Yeah, no,
So
for
we got a
I
private
guarantee
investigator out
if
here.
you had a beer with them,
Yeah.
they'd open up and tell you just how frustrated they are.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
He thought it was so silly. But then he also, he legit asked for my identification. I'm like, why do I need to do identification? If you're going to give me a ticket, I'll take the ticket and give you my ID for the ticket. But you want to run
look how many people don't know that. A lot of people don't know what their rights are.
Absolutely. And then
You know,
I'm trying to find it right now too. A lot of people are just nonchalant, just like, all right, well, here's my ID. Am I in trouble, officer? And no, if it's a lawful order to hand their ID, that's fine. Hand your ID over. You got pulled over, give an ID. But if you didn't break any laws or anything, there's no point. There's no reason to give an ID. But also, I think I'm trying to find it. I have it on camera. There is a homeless guy down in the side right here. And I mentioned to him, he wants to talk about me and you. Oh, here he is. Look, there's homeless people sleeping under the bridge right here, and they're worried about us. The graffiti, all this, and they're worried about us. I'm not in the wash right here. I'm on the side. This is as far off the bridge I went. There's a homeless person right here. and they're worried about us. And I even asked the officer, I would say, what about the homeless people sleeping down there? And he kind of just like shrugged it off. Like he was worried about trying to get my ID instead.
Yeah.
So
It's terrible too, the amount of homeless people that we have in the country right now. I mean, bro, my phone rings every single day on missing people
really,
in the state of Florida. Yeah, every single day.
that's well. I mean, it's good that people are reaching out, but it's horrible that there's missing people. You know, absolutely horrible. What do people say when they call you and ask you for help? Like, how do those conversations go with you?
So normally, it'll be either a family member or a close friend
Mm-hmm.
that'll say, "Hey, I got your number from a friend who knows somebody uh, um, that knows you look for missing people. I was wondering if you could help out and stuff like that." Obviously, you can help out with every case, and every case is different. But you try and help as many people as possible. But some of them, they just the most painful thing, just like when you see Savannah uh, on those interviews, she's in a world of hurt, and I people don't realize how much the family suffers when something like this happens. Um, you wouldn't believe like how many families go to bed at night and before they actually fall asleep, you know, maybe saying a prayer or casting a wish that, even if my sister or friend is dead, let them be found so we have answers. Because not
Closure.
having answers
They pray
is,
for closure.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
and it's Savannah and them hurting. Ironically, my mom's in the chat right now, and I always say I couldn't even imagine not having this. My mom, like this happening, trading shoes with Savannah. I can't even imagine having my mom missing like this. It's just absolutely just insane. It would be the worst feeling ever. So even though it's been 3 months, it's May. It's been like 3 months now. I couldn't even imagine going this long without knowing what happened to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
It would just break my heart.
Yeah, my same way. My mother is the same age as Nancy, and that there would be no stone unturned. I'll put it to you that way, or
Amen.
any sheriff or anybody preventing me from doing what I had to do to find either my mom or another
I
missing person.
I think the only thing that's stopping me from searching every day, and obviously you, is the distance between where I live at and where Nancy is missing from.
Mm-hmm.
If this was more in the backyard, here in Bakersfield, California, I'd be out searching as much as possible, trying to help. And worst case scenario, at
Absolutely.
least a couple times a week, I would have a big map and I would mark down in red the areas I've searched and areas one color areas I searched and areas I need to go search.
Yeah, that's why I was a little disappointed, man, when they started getting on the YouTubers and podcasters about being out there and stuff like that. Because, man, when cases get cold
Is when people give up.
is when people start forgetting and giving up and saying, "Oh, she'll probably never be found." Well, when you have that attitude or you develop that mindset, um, things just fade away,
Yep, I agree.
and it's a shame. And that's why I think it's important, for, you guys especially, you're keeping the names out there. You're keeping these cases going. You are keeping the information out there. And I know some people do it for maybe all the wrong reasons, and people have a choice of who they want to watch, who they want to listen to. They have the ability to figure out if, they think this guy's a scam or this gal is a scam or whatever. And then you either pay attention to them or you don't. But keeping these people out, you got to remember too, Nancy's a victim.
She is.
Nancy didn't just walk off because she wanted to go and change her life and, just disappear and go off grid. Nancy's a victim of a kidnapping and most likely a murder. And people need to remember that. And she's laying out there somewhere. And
there's no chance she's alive, in my opinion.
No. And the other thing I think too, Jacob, is when you guys have these podcasts, and I don't know how many people are on your YouTube right now or anything like that,
but got about 1,100. And thank you so much, Carla, for those.
So you got 1,100 people right now. I don't know how many of them are in Tucson or Bakersfield or wherever. But those 1,100 people that know 10 other people who are going to know 10 other people and maybe talk about it. And you just never know. And you never give up hope, right? Because when you do give up hope and you just start forgetting, then what happens? The bad guys win.
So by keeping her name alive, all you, the viewers down below, keeping her name alive is fighting the good fight. You know, letting the perp know, these bad guys know, like, hey, we're not giving up. We're not giving up.
Every one of your 1,100 viewers right now that are watching, maybe they go and talk to their husbands or their wives or their girlfriends or boyfriends or parents or whoever. Right. And they talk about it. Oh, yeah, Jacob had Nico on today and they were talking about this experiment that he did and throwing Nancy over his shoulder. That kind of makes sense. Maybe that puts something in the back of the mind of somebody else. And maybe they reach back out to you and say, hey, Jacob, have you thought about this? Do you know if Nico thought about this?
Yep.
Because it's not only the people that do this that are ones that have solved these crimes. You'd be surprised at how many people from the public help law enforcement, whether they're confidential informants, sources, or just plain citizens that want to do the right thing and pick up the phone. Because I guarantee you right now, you know who's paid attention to these YouTubes?
The perp.
The perp.
The perp.
100%.
He's probably watched my channel at some point. And I want to ask you this, Nico. Let's say the perp's watching right now. What would you want to tell him?
Call me, brother. Because you know what? I want to learn from you. I want you to help me understand how you did this so that we could help other families. I don't know if you'll have the guts to contact me. I hope you do. Call me from a burner phone. Text me from a burner phone if you don't want me to hear your voice.
Yep.
Tell me a location where you want to meet. I will meet with you. But man, what happened, happened. Now it's time to let us have Nancy's body back. You won. You finished your fantasy. Now let the family have Nancy's body back. And please don't ever do this again.
Amen. Do you think this guy has the potential to do this again? Like, what do you think the odds are?
I've gone back and forth with that in my mind. I think this was his first time ever doing this.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think this guy is a serial kidnapper, serial killer. I think that this guy had such a overwhelming attraction and was living that fantasy through the action that he took on February 1st. And even though it's been a little over 3 months, I think there's the fantasy maybe starting to dwindle a little bit. Maybe the excitement isn't so exciting anymore, especially since Savannah went back to trying to live her life the best way she can, and Annie and Tommaso. And so there's no reason for him to keep her location a secret anymore. You know, just let this family have some peace.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Do you think that if this is an obsession with Savannah, which is a very viable, very, very much potential to be so, wouldn't that put Annie in danger? Like, don't you think he would try to get Annie next to make sure that Savannah knows that he's still in control of her?
I think as long as he knows where Nancy is located, he's still in somewhat control. So I don't think there's a need for that. I would never discount it. You know, Annie and Savannah and even Tommaso have every reason to be in fear.
I think so too.
They have every reason to be in fear. Same thing with the community. You know, if they did it to Nancy, they could do it to others.
Kidnapper / killer.
Yeah.
That knows how to get away with it.
Yeah. Just because Nico is saying it doesn't mean Nico's right. And just because I have my opinion or somebody else has theirs doesn't mean we're right. I don't care how long you've been doing this, or, you know, working law enforcement or missing people or whatever cases.
You're not a mind reader, but you try to.
Correct.
It looks like you try to understand how the criminal mind works. You try to think how the criminal thinks, and just retrace the steps the criminal most likely took. And just so people know out there, Nancy's not the first missing persons case you've worked on. You want to talk about your experience missing persons and like what you got going on and how many people you've worked on with or how many people you've tried to help?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been doing this. I started doing this when the Gabby Petito case came out. Mm-hmm. We got asked to help out on something, and looking for Brian, and we did. And during that time, I started finding out about missing women in Central Florida, in particular Hillsborough County, where I live. And I was baffled because
Hold on. So when you said how can we get the number to the perp, travel, if you're serious, email me. I'm going to put the email in the chat right now. It's dadsgonelive@gmail.com. You can email me from a fake account if you want. But email me, dadsgonelive@gmail.com. This person has asked multiple times about getting in contact, which I get those messages a lot. But this person's been very persistent. Email me. I just put it in the chat. Email that email right there, and we'll get to talking. I don't want to put Nico's phone number out there publicly in case, because there are people that troll and try to dox and be silly. I want to be serious with it. So yeah, I just put it in the chat. Anyways, apologize, Nico. Back to what?
Yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Oh, you're good. It's my fault.
That's all right.
I just if that person's serious, they said, how can we get Nico's number to the perp? And they've asked multiple times on how to contact you. And
yeah, they could contact me through that infamous messenger.
Okay. They can find you on Facebook, right?
Yep.
What do they look up on you on Facebook to message you?
I'm sorry?
Oh, what's your username on Facebook?
Nico Toscani, Tusconi.
Okay.
Nico, not Ko.
Nico. Oh, they're saying that they want to know the rest of your story. You were talking about your story. The Gabby Petito case when you started doing this.
Yeah, so we helped out with Brian Laundrie. And during that time, we started finding out about some missing women or a lot of missing women in Hillsborough County and throughout Central Florida. So started taking an interest in that, and then come to find out that in the state of Florida, there are no missing adult squads in the all 50 sheriff's offices throughout Florida. There's no missing adult squads. There's missing juveniles, but not adults. All of the missing adult cases, just like in Arizona, go to the homicide division. And obviously, homicide's priorities are homicides, and missing persons are, down here.
Yeah.
So I just got together with some friends that were retired military and law enforcement. We were all looking for a purpose at the time to give back to the community, and that's what we did. And since then, me personally, I have about 40 cases that have been completed.
Wow.
About half of them were deceased, victims of murder, suicide, accident, that kind of stuff. And
So
then,
you've actually found deceased bodies.
yes, a lot of them.
What goes through your head when you come across a person?
In the beginning, it was like, damn,
Yeah.
why? Asking the why, especially like on domestic violence cases and suicide. But everybody goes through their own challenges in life.
Yes.
And I think one of the things, especially when I worked law enforcement, I was able to separate myself from that. We were always like, got to get the bad guy, got to get the bad guy, got to get the bad guy, right?
Now you're focusing, got to get the victim.
Yeah, exactly. And
so you're not out there to try to find the bad guy and put the bad guy in handcuffs. You're out there to recover the missing person and give the family peace.
Yeah. That law enforcement is out there to solve the crime. I'm out there to help find the person, hopefully alive. If not, then recover them, to give the family peace. And then it's up to law enforcement to do their part of the job.
What I mean, obviously, it's never. It can't be good to see a deceased person, but what do you prefer more? Do you prefer your job in law enforcement that you used to do, the military, or do you prefer what you're doing now, finding missing persons?
I've been fortunate enough my entire life to be able to serve. So the military, that was great. Law enforcement was great. But I think when it comes to the most rewarding part is this part of my life, because now you get to help families that have run out of options. Law enforcement says there's nothing else we can do except wait on leads to come in. Very much like Nancy's case right now. Things are working behind the scenes. The family don't know what's going on. All they know is that their sister or their daughter or their mom is missing. And so that's why, I take it from there. The family reaches out, and I think I can help them. I will. I never, ever have charged a family a single cent to help them out.
From my understanding, it sounds like you've spent a lot of your own money. Like you funded your own trip to Tucson.
Yeah, let's not say that too loud.
Oh, your wife. She comes in. What?
Yeah.
Guys, we can't talk about that too much. He's gonna sleep on the couch tonight.
Yeah. But you know what though? And being totally, open and sincere, it's worth it to me.
Absolutely.
I ain't taking it with me. And, I have life insurance and savings for my kids. So, when the time comes, they'll be okay. Plus, for me, I needed a purpose, honestly. I was starting to fall into that. I don't want to say dark place. But when you don't have that camaraderie anymore and you don't have that purpose anymore, you can start getting in a bad place.
I agree.
And so, but this gave me new energy. And man, even as long as I worked in law enforcement, I never knew the amount of missing people. And let's not, as long as we're being upfront and honest, not everybody gets the same
treatment.
Right?
I agree.
Anybody that ever tries to tell me that women of color are treated exactly the same as everybody else, I'll call the bullshit flag. When it's not somebody of that is popular, that they get the same treatment as everybody else, that's bullshit.
I agree.
I would be the first to admit I took a special interest in this case because I think it's important, because I don't give a shit about the money or reward or anything like that.
Amen.
But I think you have to send a signal to people that want to commit these types of crimes that you're going to get caught. And you're going to be found, you're going to be arrested, and hopefully we're going to find that body. But until then, you better be looking over your shoulder, because law enforcement is coming for you, and we are still going to be looking for Nancy. And when you have that kind of publicity and there is a nation that's concerned, You have to do your part to see if there's any way you can help. Now, I will tell you this: I'm not going to go into too much here, and I know it's taking a lot of your time.
Oh no, I mean it's valuable. You're this is a valuable conversation.
There should be something very concerning to every single American right now, and that is there are 14 nuclear scientists now that have either gone missing,
Yep,
or have ended up mysteriously dead, and nobody is really talking about it. And people need to understand that is a very, 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 from a national security perspective, that is a very dangerous situation.
Now,
And
the general in New Mexico, I was wanting to look into him and kind of go out there and just kind of investigate that situation. Have you heard about that one? He's part of
yes.
he's linked. Do you have any plans to look into these, or are you like, no, this is kind of dangerous?
No, I am definitely got back last night, and it's already. Let's see. Probably have about 50 messages.
Oh wow!
About the potential of looking into things. There's, the general, and the guy. I guess there was a guy that says same thing. He left his house without his cell phone or any ID or anything like that, and he went in his Tesla, and his Tesla was parked at the airport for 4 hours. Then when it left the airport, shortly after, he hit a guardrail and the Tesla exploded, and he was burned to death. And so he's another victim. Then there was another one that, according to this message, she was in communication with a friend from England who used to work with British intelligence. And she basically sent a message saying, listen, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. If I end up dead, I did not kill myself. I did not overdose, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, they're saying that she took her own life. She shot herself in the head.
I wouldn't kill myself. Wow.
Yeah. So now it's up to 14. It was just 11 a week and a half ago. Now it's 14. But I think every single American needs to be concerned with this, because this is highly qualified foreign assassins that are doing this. Whether it be Russia, Iranian, the Chinese,
and regardless of your political views, too, this is something that you need.
Throw the political bullshit out the door. I don't care.
Amen.
What side of the fence you're on, Democrat, Republican, Independent. I don't really care. When stuff like this starts happening, I think all of us need to be concerned.
Amen.
Yeah.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Right now, we're losing fellow Americans that are valuable to this country, and I find it really concerning, and also I find it really scary, because I feel like if you bark up the wrong tree and you make some progress on it, then you're gonna be the next one to go down. So it's gonna be extremely dangerous to investigate these.
It will be, but we used to have a saying in the military: if not me, then who? Right? Or send me. Because if let's say you the guys that do YouTube, right? Like you guys, if you guys just decided one day, you know what, this shit's too dangerous,
then who's going to do it?
Who's going to do it? Who are you going to get your information from? CNN or Fox News? or
The news
MSNBC.
stations that have their own agendas that collide with each other all the time.
They don't care about you, me, or anybody else. They care about
Making money and pushing their
sales.
agenda.
Yes. Yeah.
Fear mongering.
So,
I said fear mongering.
that fear mongering sells.
Mm-hmm.
But they know how to sensationalize things, and yeah. So if people like us stop looking for Nancy, if people like you stop reporting on it,
Mm-hmm.
and we just let our kids pay attention or believe in TikTok, we're going to be in a bad way.
And this is off subject, but I'll say this to the viewers. The reason why I'm like so into this YouTube thing is because you watch Fox, you get one perspective. You watch CNN, you get another perspective, and they're pushing some type of agenda. I feel like, and they're colliding with each other. They're against each other. YouTube, myself, JLR, Criminal Network, Tucson 857, Ted Investigates, all of us YouTubers as a collective, for the most part, have been coming together, working together, YouTube, X, Facebook, for the greater good, for the same, we all want the same result. We want more awareness to these cases, and we want these families to have closure. I understand a lot of people get upset. You're out there live streaming Nancy's house. You're up there live streaming while you're searching. What are you doing? Well, we're doing it to hopefully bring more awareness. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to show you something, Nico. I don't know if you can see the back of my shirt. Some people might not like that, but yeah, I don't go for mainstream media no more. Yeah, there's no narrative when you're live streaming. You guys see the live results. Yeah, I'm watching the replay of it. It just shows mainstream media with a guy. I tell everyone he's dumping a bottle of water on the words mainstream media.
Yeah. I know we're sitting here joking and laughing and stuff like that, but if you remember back, I don't think they took that Ring camera frame down or collected that mat until after you guys started reporting on it, right? That doormat?
The Ring camera plastic bracket.
The bracket.
Yes. I know I zoomed in on it one day. I don't remember if it was up. I think it might have been taken down, but there was a card from Adult Protective Services that was up. And then the doormat, oh man, I don't remember seeing them take the doormat. That thing was there from like the entire time. But you know what really bothered me? In the perp video, he grabs the weeds, like the plants, to hold it in front of the camera, kind of like this. And I remember seeing plants like look like the same brush he had, the same plant he had in his hand, the same leaves on the ground in front of the mat. I think it was still there. So people are saying no, they didn't take the doormat or the plants. I think they might have taken the plastic for the Ring camera. That one I can't confirm, but I think the mat and the leaves were still there. So people are saying they took the bracket right away. So kind of interesting to me. Why wouldn't they take the thing from the very beginning? And then also the blood on the front porch. My opinion is, wouldn't you want to scrape that off and take every single drop of blood in case the perp's blood or something from the perp was mixed in it somewhere?
There should have been an entire box of Q-tips out there, an entire box of evidence, plastic bags, and paper bags. And every one of those droplets should have been swabbed, because I don't care how good you are at reading blood splatter patterns, sputum, or what have you. Unless every single drop is tested, we don't know if that blood belongs to anybody else. That's the way it's supposed to be done. Is it time consuming? Yes. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes. But that's how crimes like that get solved.
But what's more of a pain in the ass? Spending the resources or not bringing closure and catching the bad guy? I'd rather them go through the resources, spend the money, take the time, do what they need to do to solve this case.
Don't forget, here's something else we need to remember. Mr. Trump, President Trump, I forget who he told, but somebody from his administration came out and said that the full resources of the federal government will be there to assist. So you know what that tells me? I worked for the federal government. That, to me, that's an unlimited bank account. So don't let the Pima County sheriffs come out or nanos come out and say, well, we have to measure cost over analysis and blah blah blah. No. The FBI is paying for that. And it would have saved him a shit ton of money if he would have just let the FBI run with it from the beginning, because that would have been all federal funds.
The FBI would have financed the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Imagine how much money that they would have saved the county by taking over the entire case from the get-go.
Yeah, and let me tell you something else. When they say Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, said that there was a plane on standby to take that DNA and fly it directly to Quantico, I believe it, because I've worked cases where that exact scenario happened.
So that's a real thing. They really do that. They really do have airplanes on standby
Absolutely.
to transport DNA in a case like this.
They have emergency response teams ready to go at a moment's notice. They call them, you when you're on standby, you pack up what's called a go bag, a flight bag.
Yeah.
And it's got different changes of clothing for you, extra gear and equipment. And when the balloon goes up, you respond.
Speaking of go bags, I need to have one too.
I'm talking about immediately. I'm not talking about, there's an 8-hour window or a 24-hour window or some BS like that. No, you're getting on a freaking plane and you're hauling ass for that reason.
Yeah, got to go. Okay, they get on the plane and go instead of my flight leaves tomorrow at 2 a.m. No, they're that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that is a real thing. They're on call, ready to run.
When you're on those fly teams, I don't care if you're freaking, vacationing down here in Tampa, you're going.
Talking to you is like getting a mix. I don't know if you watch TV at all, a mix of Criminal Minds and Tracker. You're like a real life, like if Criminal Minds and Tracker had like a baby, and that baby grew up, that baby would grow up to be Nico.
Yeah, I wish I had their money.
Oh yeah, private jet, being able to fly across the country and go run cases, man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, but that's true though. Just like the FBI SWAT team, their hostage rescue team, their HRT is the best in the world, right? If they're not training, they're working out, sleeping, shooting, and running drills. That plane is on standby for certain teams at any given moment. If there's a terrorist attack tomorrow at, 9 a.m. in Bakersfield, California, they will be there in just a few hours. And that's all the way across the country. That's how fast it happens.
So they got response teams ready to run.
Yes.
So speaking of SWAT,
one of the things that the FBI is really good at, they can get hundreds of agents to a specific location in no time.
So they're mobile and ready to run. So the other thing is, going back to the SWAT team for the FBI. So they raided Luke Daly's house. They searched Annie and Tommaso's house. They had Luke Daly's vehicle in impound searching for a short period of time. And then Annie and Tommaso's vehicle That was in impound for a very long time. I don't even know if they ever got their car back, or maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But
They did.
They did. So
Yeah.
why would they take the cars in impound like that? Do they have to have evidence, or can they just say, "Oh, we're just going to investigate this, and you're the last one to see her"? Was it because Tommaso drove her?
So if you're a family member, you want your family member found. So if the FBI comes to you and says, "We'd like to take your vehicle and we'd like to rip it apart, and then we will put it back together for you, but we'd like to see," because remember, people, and this drives me crazy. People will always say, "Well, if they took Annie's vehicle, she has to be involved because look how long they have it." Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because what happens if the perp decided to break into Annie's vehicle when her and Nancy were shopping somewhere and they planted a tracking device or listening devices or something like that?
Yeah.
And maybe they left some DNA in that vehicle.
So maybe it's a possibility that the car could have been bugged, and they're looking for evidence linking back to the perp.
They're looking for any kind of evidence. And this way they could come back to Annie and Tommaso and say, why would Nico Toscani's DNA be on the front passenger floorboard embedded in the rug? And if they say, oh, that's because, we went to the beach one time and well, not in Tucson, but we went hiking one time and Nico busted his ass over some rocks and he cut his hand. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But if they turn around and say, who the hell is Nico Toscani? See, there's a lot of things that people don't understand how these cases work and how the system works. And when you have the FBI involved, I guarantee you that car was taken apart right down to from the seat belts right down to the seat screws and stuff like that and analyzed.
So you're thinking they tore the entire car apart, like tore it down.
They take it apart down to the frame and put it back together.
Really? That's a real thing.
Yeah.
They don't just look in there with black lights.
No. What does a black light tell you?
DNA?
Blood, right?
Yeah.
If you're spraying luminol, right? All it's going to show is blood. But you got to remember, they vacuum the rugs. They vacuum the trunk. They lift all the rugs out because who's to say no? Somebody didn't replace the rug. So if you got to get in there under that new rug and look at the metal and see if there's stains, and if there is, test that for DNA, see if that's blood evidence. Spray Blue Star on it. See if that was cleaned up with bleach. I mean, what better way to say we are 100% certain that Annie and Tommaso are not involved than to do something like that. Right?
Okay. Is that you? Well, I mean, when did the FBI come out and say that they've been cleared?
I don't think the FBI is ever going to come out and say anything on this case until it's done. Anything that the FBI does, especially when it's high-profile cases, they do what's called these 302s, right? And 302s are essentially reports of investigation. Everybody that they've ever talked to, interviewed, has a 302, right? So if I talk to Jacob today and we talked for 20 minutes, everything in that conversation is going to be put on a 302 and sent into Nancy's file.
Okay.
Anytime there's tips that come in that are vetted, people have to go out and interview, or what we call vet the tip. Okay. There's going to be reports on that.
So they're documenting everything.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of like somebody doing something really bad? I don't know, like a guy wanting to blow up a building. I'll give you a perfect example. Do you remember? You might be too young. 2016, the Omar Mateen case that we had in Orlando, Florida.
No, I don't.
Yeah. So Omar Mateen was a terrorist. And he committed a terrorist attack at the Pulse nightclub, which was a gay.
Oh, I remember that. He didn't he like shoot it up or something like that? A lot of people died.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
He
I
killed
remember that.
49 people.
Yes, that was horrible, man.
Horrible.
I was
Okay.
I was on a rig when I heard that news.
And what was one of the first things that the FBI came out and said? Yes, we had this guy. We knew about this guy because there had been reports before, and those reports were submitted on 302s.
If they investigated that guy already, or if they knew about that guy, was there any issues with FBI being accused of not investigating it fully, or FBI could have stopped it, or have they? Because this is news to me. I remember the attack. I don't remember anything else about the investigation.
So there had been reporting on him prior to that attack. I don't remember how long it was before. Mm-hmm. I think it might have been 6 months or a year before, but he was in the system. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, there's the FBI is not going to lie about it because of the potential for lawsuits and stuff like that. So yeah, they came out and said, we have dealt with this guy in the past, but just because somebody calls something in and says Nico Toscani was talking bad about America and saying that he'd like to blow something up one day, and then they come out to interview me and they ask me, and I say, what are you talking about? I love this country, even though I hate it. They don't have probable cause to arrest me. What are you going to arrest me on? Free speech? Now, do they have a responsibility to make a determination whether I'm going to be a further threat? Yeah. But once they determine that this guy is no longer a threat or is not a threat, they just can't arrest you.
Yeah, they can't just arrest you because, this guy seems like a kind of person. They have to have some kind of evidence you have to break the law. You can't just, this guy's likely to do this. We'll watch him, but we can't just take him in. So that they're limited on what they can do. You have to break the law. You have to do something wrong to go to jail.
Yeah, you have to give us probable cause. And you know how many times we've had either wives or husbands call on their spouses because they were so angry with them. And they were saying, oh, yeah, my husband's threatening to blow up this building. Or my wife said she's going to go into Walmart and shoot up the Walmart.
Ooh.
And go out there and interview them. And they're like, WTF. I never said that. I would never hurt anybody. I would never, but they were angry at the time. And during that argument, they may have said that. And sometimes they might not even remember.
Yeah.
That doesn't give us the right to go out there and put them in handcuffs and put them in jail until we could figure it out. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And
then you can't just go search someone's house just because you have a hunch.
No, you need probable cause to get a search warrant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of that, probable cause for a search warrant. Luke Daly's house, they had a search warrant. From my understanding, did they have a search warrant and raid his house? Do you have to have some kind of evidence?
There had to be some sort of probable cause to show criminal activity. Now, I don't know what that probable cause affidavit was, or how the warrant was signed, or when the warrant was signed and by who. But I will tell you that they just can't knock somebody's door down because some Tom, Dick, or Harry said that there's drugs in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work like that.
So I can't say that my neighbor across the street, hey, Nico, my neighbor over there, yeah, I think he kidnapped Nancy. So if I say that, they can't just go raid my neighbor's house. So they have to have some kind of solid evidence to pull the search warrant. That's correct, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously Luke's not in prison, so they don't have evidence to arrest him at this point in time. And I'm not saying that he's guilty. I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just saying they raided his house, and there's a reason they raided his house. What is that reason?
There had to be some proof of criminality in order to get that judge to sign off on that warrant.
Donna just sent a super chat. Nico, please check your private messages later. This is Donna. We've chatted before about you going back to Tucson. Mama loved to both of you. Thank you so much, Mama Donna.
Thank you, Mama Donna.
Yeah, by the way, someone earlier sent like $10 to give to you. So I got $20 to give to Nico now. Nico, I'll have to make sure that money gets to you. And by the way, this man on the screen, you're above me. This man right here, Nico, it's trying to give him money is like pulling fingernails. I had it like, it took me like 2 days or like an entire day to make him accept the money that you guys gave me last time to give to him. And he was very thankful for it. But man, making this guy accept money is like pulling fingernails. So, I mean, but for the FBI to raid somebody's house, and the guy in Rio Rico, Carlos or whatever, they had a search warrant for him. They hit Luke and Carlos at the same time, from my understanding. Is that correct?
Now, you just said something interesting. Was the FBI the primary on that, or were they just supporting the sheriff's office? Big difference there.
That I don't know. I do remember the sheriff's office had the road closure set up, but I don't know.
Because just because the FBI is out there doesn't mean it's a federal warrant.
Okay, so it could just be a local warrant. Or a county, like through the county instead of for the federal judge. So if the FBI pulled the warrant, it would be through a federal judge and not a local
Correct.
county judge?
Yes.
See, I never knew that. Someone said sheriff did the Carlos raid and feds did the Luke raid. So I don't know that for sure, but that's what people are saying in the chat, that the feds handled Luke's raid and then the sheriff handled Carlos's raid.
Right. So they could be sharing tactical responsibility, but it depends on who got the warrant, whether it was a state warrant or a federal warrant. If there was arrest made on a federal warrant, that person would have been brought to the marshal's custody in either Phoenix or Tucson. If it's a state warrant, then they would have been brought to the county jail.
Okay. That's interesting. Oh. I mean, I know I'm just sitting here going, but I mean, this is interesting, man. Do you think that do they have to release public information on the warrant?
Well, unless the judge determines that it needs to be sealed, but that's on rare occasions. I just don't know what it is in this case.
I did watch an interview with Luke Daly's lawyer, and his lawyer said him and his lawyer are saying that they are not releasing information on the search warrant at this time, and they're saying
okay, so it's a sealed
Sealed.
indictment. Sealed
At this time,
search
it's
warrant.
sealed.
Yeah.
So what would do they eventually have to unseal it, or can it just be sealed forever?
It depends. I mean, I don't know. Does he have a court date?
No, I don't think any charges are pressed against him. The only thing I think is
Doesn't have to be unsealed. It doesn't have to be released then.
so it doesn't have to be released if there's no.
Will
arrest.
it be released? I don't know how Pima County works. I know the feds would probably release it when it's no longer of use. But you know, if Luke Daly was falsely accused or wrongly accused of something, then he has an option of obtaining counsel and filing a lawsuit. That's his privilege.
I think they are filing a lawsuit. From my understanding, I think they are trying to go after because they're saying that Luke is innocent and it's damaged his reputation. But from my understanding, Luke already has an extensive, criminal history.
Doesn't matter what you did in your past is in your past. That doesn't give me the authority to push forward or use that as a basis. Now, could I, take that into consideration for tactical planning, especially if they're a violent person? Absolutely. Maybe that would require me to use a SWAT team or how we would make entry into the conveyance or something like that. But just because you did something in your past doesn't give me the authority to just make stuff up and take you into custody for my benefit so I can figure out if you kidnapped Nancy. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
Am I making sense?
You are, and it with what you just said right there makes me think that they had to have some kind of evidence to raid his house.
Yeah,
They can't just say, "Oh, you're a criminal. You've been arrested in the past for drug charges, and you're a drug dealer." I'm not saying that Luke is. I'm just saying that you can't just say this guy's a drug dealer. There's a kidnapping. We're going to go raid this random drug dealer. They have to have something to connect you to the case.
You got to remember if you're, let's say you're a detective or a special agent, and you walk into that judge's chambers with your affidavit.
Yeah.
Okay. The judge is going to read it. He's going to swear you to it. And then he's going to sign the warrant. God forbid if you get caught in a lie or you made shit up to get that warrant signed.
So if you make stuff up and you get caught to get the warrant, you're capital FUCK'd. You're screwed.
Yeah, and you should not be a law enforcement officer. Because if you're going to swear on the oath and knowing you're lying, all your credibility is out the door.
Absolutely. Well,
That's why Nanos is under such scrutiny right now. Because there's accusations of him lying on his either resume or past disciplinary reports and things he might have done and stuff like. You got to remember. So if, let's say, I arrested 1,000 suspects over my career, right? And in my last year of working law enforcement, I get caught in a lie where I'm planting evidence. Do you know once that information comes out, they got to go back and look at every single case that I ever worked and have to go back now with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that some innocent person isn't sitting in some federal prison for the rest of their life because I may have planted evidence or, lied.
And not just that. Now everybody that you arrested is going to be saying, "Oh, look, he did this. He falsely got this guy in jail. He did it to me too." And they're going to use that as an out to get out of jail too. So now they're going to question, like you just said, they're going to question every single case you've done. One screw up can ruin 1,000 attaboys.
And then what does it do to my coworkers?
Screws them up
Because
too.
once Nico's reputation is shit, that's how everybody that works in my same agency or same office, they're going to be look at those guys. They freaking lie their asses off.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. Well, I got to get going here in like the next 20 minutes. So
Me too.
I was planning on only talking to you for like an hour, but man, you're full of like valuable information. Everybody in the chat is loving, what you're doing. If you want to come on LiveStream and do one of these again in the near future, I'm all for it. Somebody just asked, they sent a super chat and said, what is Nico's group name on Facebook? Your search group.
So I'm a founding member of We Are the Essentials.
Okay.
It's a missing persons group out of Lakeland, Florida. I left there last May, so a little over a year ago. We're working different types of cases. I'm working more like cold cases and long-term type investigations. But a few months ago, I started helping another group called Flow with Purpose, FLO with Purpose, and they are a small organization that is also helping to look for missing persons. And they do a lot of work both on the ground and in the water, utilizing underwater cameras and that type of stuff. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is this them right here? Flow with Purpose?
Yes.
Okay. I just followed them right now. Sweet. Oh, look, We Are the Essentials. They just popped up too. It's like they're linked together. They're suggested. First thing that popped up.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, now also...
Both organizations are really good people. Their hearts are in the right places. They both are nonprofits that they don't charge the families, and they work strictly on donations and so forth. I actually contemplated doing that, but working these types of cases and because of the difficulty and the complexity of them, a lot of people aren't going to donate, if you will, to trying to solve a case that may be 5 years old, something like that. They're more in the now. Somebody disappears with dementia and walks off or something like that. But both of those organizations are really good and have fantastic people and really help the community a lot.
So Jesse Nightowl just sent a super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jago, for putting together this awesome discussion with Nico. Very insightful, fantastic job. Thank you. People love you, man. I really hope that we can go to Tucson, link up, and let me tag along with you on a search, man. I really appreciate it. So
yeah, maybe what we'll do also is see if we could reach out maybe to some of your followers or some people in the Tucson community. See if we could maybe recruit some additional people, maybe drone operators, former military, former law enforcement that want to get together and go boots on the ground. And then another thing too is a lot of people tend to forget, like, I get what the sheriff is saying about he doesn't want anybody going on private property, blah, blah, blah. If you respectfully go up to somebody's house and knock on the door and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. Do you mind if I take a look back here or anything? I don't have any information that Nancy may be here. I just like to cross this area. off my search pattern.
Yeah.
99% of the time, people will be like, "Yeah, just don't kill any cactus out there." I mean, it's not like you're going to go out there and do any harm, right?
Just tread lightly.
Yeah, you tread lightly and be nice, And when people know you're sincere and you're trying to help, I've had people come out and bring me water, Gatorade, corn chips, offer to make me a sandwich and come on in and get some AC. You don't want to do that, right? Because you're going into somebody's residence and stuff. But look, people are genuinely good and want to help. A lot of times people will be a little resistant because they're scared, especially if they live alone, They don't know who you are. All they know is that an 84-year-old grandma and mother got kidnapped, a half mile down the road. So it's nerve-wracking for a lot of people. So I understand where people are coming from. Like, we need our neighborhood back. We need our peace. Yeah, I get that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's been great talking to you, man.
Yeah, I'll let you go. I'll talk to you like off the live stream. We'll see about like what time frame you're looking to go out there, and then if I can get like a week or two, just notice like, hey, we'll be out there on this date. I'll make a post on X, Facebook, YouTube, and requesting like ex law enforcement, military, people that want to raise their hands and offer some searching help, and try to see what we get organized. It'd be awesome to have some more help. So
definitely. And if anybody wants to follow, it's Nico Tusconi, Tusconi, going to court on May 12th on a case, Tanya Whip case. I think I told you about it, Jacob.
Is this you right here, Nico?
Yeah.
Okay. I just followed you.
This guy, he's pretty much a serial offender. 20 years ago, he stabbed his girlfriend 17 times in the head, neck, and chest, and she survived. That's him right there. You just scrolled by.
That guy?
Yeah, Russell Carroll.
Okay.
So we have him in jail right now, locked up on stealing his girlfriend's money. But he got out of prison in February of 2023. Mm-hmm. She moved in with him in February of 2023. And by May 26th, she was never heard from again.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting ready to hopefully indict him in the next couple of months so he could spend the rest of his life in prison where he belongs, because he is definitely a serial killer in the making.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, follow that case. It's an interesting one. And we're still looking for Tanya Whip's body too.
So I'm posting Nico's Facebook page in the chat. Bless you. Down below, you guys can go follow him. This is his social media, Nico Tusconi. Hopefully I said that right.
Yep.
So, and if we go back to Tucson, you have to let me take you out to dinner, man. Got some Italian food or something.
That was a good place.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I'm gonna get off.
I'm a full-blooded Italian, man. So I'm always ready for Italian food.
See, I didn't even know you were like actually Italian when I was talking about places to eat, and you're like, "Well, of course I would go there. I'm Italian." I'm like, I love Italian food. So, well,
thank you everybody for tuning in, and thank you guys for following Jacob. He's one of the best guys that I've met in doing this job, and his heart is in the right place, and he's sincere, and he wants to do more cases like this. So you guys keep supporting him, and so he could do his job, and we're going to keep Nancy and other victims of heinous crime. We're going to keep their names out there so that people don't forget. So thank you all. God bless you, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for chatting, and I'll catch you later, Nico.
All right, brother. Be safe, man.
Hey, you too, brother. Bye.
Bye-bye.
And for my chat, catch you guys later. I'm going to go ahead and end this. I have a birthday party to go to. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to go live tonight in the streets of Bakersfield. I'm going to go live tomorrow night in the streets of Bakersfield. Yeah, so much love, everyone. Thank you guys so much. And when this live stream is over, come back to the live stream, leave a comment, and let me know, do you want more live streams in the studio at home? I'm all for it.